It's a lovely Tuesday evening here in the UK, and I thought I would do something a little bit different. Well, actually not a little bit different because I've done it before. And I thought I would do my overall review of the Orville New Horizons season 3. And I would say it's absolutely been fantastic. The actual episodes and the actual series as a whole from season 1. So let me kind of start off with a few things. As you people already know, that the first 2 seasons were on Fox. Even over here in the UK, they were on the Fox UK channel. The episodes used to be, well, they were like 45 minutes. Obviously, it would be an hour. When you take into account the ad breaks that they have. I mean, obviously after the second season, it moved. It was announced that the third season would be on Hulu, which is also available over here in the UK as well. And if you got the Disney Plus, it's on there as well. So it was gonna be on there, but they did say that it would be a long time before we saw any of the season 3 being aired. I think it may have been over a year and a half. And then obviously what changed was obviously because of COVID and the COVID protocols. So that obviously took it a long time in actual doing the actual season 3. And there's some other stuff that I'm going to talk about, the differences right with season 3, but I'll mention that later on in the actual video. But what I will say is that from the difference from the first 2 seasons to season 3 is that they've definitely upped the budget. So when it comes to right down to the uniforms and the actual special effects, they've actually got like a lot bigger and better. So you can see that if you've watched the first 2 seasons, you can see that right off the bat, that how massive it is. Then other changes that there have been is the fact that the episodes used to run for roughly about 45 minutes, should I say. And then with the new format, it's gone to, some episodes have been maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Some episodes have been 1 hour and 20 minutes, or even a little bit longer than that. So, and then also the episode count has actually been cut down. So I don't remember exactly how many seasons there were in the first 2 seasons, but in season 3, they've cut it down to 10 episodes. So bearing in mind that obviously that you've got the increase in budget, the hour or 20 hour, the plus hour or more increase in the length of the actual episodes, and then you've got shorter amount of episodes, you then get this movie type. The only way to describe it is that each of the 10 episodes feels like you're watching you're actually watching a feature-length movie, which is actually really good. I mean, you can sit there and tell the quote. I mean, to me, you could have very easily put these as individual movies, and it essentially would have worked. Differences, I would say, is that they've cut back on the actual humour, right? Because obviously watching the first season, a lot of people had thoughts on, obviously, especially with the comedy and obviously Seth MacFarlane's background, that the first season was kind of a parody, a Star Trek parody, similar to, I suppose you might say, Galaxy Quest in there, and I can kind of see that. But you can also tell that that Seth MacFarlane does, and he's really interested in space, and he's from what I know, a big Star Trek fan. I think more so of the Next Gen, judging by when you look at the Orville, and then some stuff that he said about his stories about his childhood, about building like the bridge in his bedroom and stuff. So again, you can kind of understand that. And then he actually appeared in an episode of Star Trek Enterprise. I don't know if he was a bridge crew member, but I know that he definitely was on it, 'cause I remember seeing him on there. So you can tell that he's influenced by Star Trek, and then obviously people just saw it as a kind of a Galaxy Quest kind of thing. So the humour in it was funny, but I would say that maybe that some people didn't kind of take it seriously. And although it was funny, it did have its serious moments when it needed to kind of do it. And then by the time it got to season 2, they basically cut back on the humour a little bit, and tried sort of, you had the balance of it being kind of serious, but then it having the comedy in it as well. So, you know, and again, in some ways, rightfully or wrongfully, I mean, people were comparing it to, obviously, again, Star Trek or Galaxy Quest. And then we move on to the 3rd season, where for me, right off the bat, I mean, when you kind of watch it, when I saw the very first episode, the thing that catches you most of all is the special effects when you're seeing the ships and what was it? I suppose this is a Star Trek term. The docking places, right, where you've got obviously the ships docking to be repaired, and then the overall scope of the special effects and the ships flying around and the cameras panning around the ship. I mean, and then even the uniforms and then even like say going onto the planets, and you can tell right away that the budget has definitely gone up a notch. And then also you can tell right, that some of the characters that they kind of dialed back their sense of humour. So Seth MacFarlane's character, Ed Mercer, he's actually a lot more serious and a lot more stern in his character. And the same thing with some of the other characters, anything where they're were reliant on humour. But what I did like about the actual changes that they've made is, yes, they've made the characters in some ways a little bit more serious, but the humour is actually still there, and it's only kind of used when it's kind of needed to. And then I actually found that it actually worked, especially with some of the humour in the actual episodes. I'm not going to go through the individual episodes. There may be one or two I might say, but this is towards the end of it. But what I thought was great about the actual with season 3 is that obviously the length of the episodes are much longer now. And what I found is that you could be watching something and they could be doing something, and the whole thing is kind of just typical Star Trek, you know, on a island on a planet, and then they're meeting new cultures. So it's all nicey. And then about halfway through, it does a complete 180 where it just goes from obviously sweet and nice to just completely dark in just one motion. So it does it in such a way that you don't actually see it coming, in the way that it actually does that. So you look at the episode and you're just half expecting and waiting for them to do something. It's all nice and sweet and something bad to happen. And then as of what, it just goes it just goes 0 to 60 dark. In one for foul swoop. And then to me, it was actually a good thing, because it kept you in your toes. Because you think, oh, this episode's going to end up being a certain way, and then it's actually completely kind of different in the way that they actually do it. So that was kind of great. And then also with the actual episodes in this season 3, there's a lot of like political things that are kind of going on in the actual episodes in regards of the different alien cultures. Again, don't want to go into it because it's gonna possibly maybe a spoiler or give it away, because I want it to be fresh. But some of the political values that happen, they're actually very, 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 very similar to what's kind of going on now, and are actually relevant to what's going on in our society today. And in the way they kind of handle it, it's not being preachy, and it's not sitting there and telling you, well, you should sit there and do this and do this. You kind of get both sides of, depending on what the political element is kind of all about. And then I thought the way and then sometimes you could have a very touchy subject, maybe say, for example, like abortion or gender, or people changing the gender, and that can be, or even racism, and that can be a touchy subject for some people, because obviously, you know, the way that people react on both sides, and it can be a very difficult subject matter to actually tackle in kind of debating something. And as for the way that this does it, this was actually really great, and it's testament to the actual writers and producers on the show to write something that is so can be like a real touchy kind of a subject, but they've actually, you know, done such a good job in kind of tackling the kind of matter, but without preaching to people. And I remember, obviously, with the new Star Trek shows, where there's been a lot of these right-wing YouTubers that you know, obviously don't like new Star Trek, and again that have complained that Star Trek is kind of very woke and SJW, which I do kind of find a bit stupid, because Star Trek has always, if you want to sit and use the terminology of being woke, it's kind of always been like that in a sense since the creation. And obviously Gene Roddenberry's vision of, you know, a society where everyone's equal and there's no more racism and there's no more poverty, and whether you're black, white, or black, white, and whatever race, rich or poor, everybody's sitting there and treated with the same values. So it's kind of always been there. So and then there have been, even with the new Star Trek, so let's say the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, there's been political issues that, like, there was an episode in the Next Generation where they dealt with there was a bit cut out. I think it was season 2 actually. I maybe it's season 1, but I'm assuming that it's season 2, where they're talking about something, and then I think Data asked something to do with the stuff to do with the Irish, and then when they actually broadcast that particular bit of the episode, it was actually cut out. Now I don't know if this is in, whether it's been if it's back on the DVD or the Blu-ray version of it, I don't know, but I know obviously that actually happened. So it's always been, you know, as I thought, it's always been political. And then there was a lot of the right-wing YouTubers saying, oh, but they prefer the Orville because it's real Star Trek and it's not being political and SJW and woke. And then the thing is, if you actually watch the Orville from season 1, it's done things. It has done things that are being political, and even more so now with season 3. So, you know, again, when you know, when some of these right-wing YouTubers are doing that, I do think it's kind of stupid. Sometimes you watch things to escape from certain things, and it's about the enjoyment of something. And sometimes you want to escape out of reality. So I can understand where, you know what, some people may sit there and think something is a little bit too preachy, but to me, if something does help educate people in the way that in things that are political going on, maybe we can get out of this mess. And again, there's something in regards of the last 2 episodes, which I will mention later on, which pretty much kind of cover that. Again, to me, there wasn't really any bad episodes at all. They were all highly entertaining. And then, for me, I was always looking forward to, obviously because it's on Disney Plus, I was always looking forward to for them to put in the actual video, so that, you know, like I was looking forward to watching the next episode. It was really something to look forward to. Now it's all finished. I know it's going to be pretty much going to be a long time before we see anymore. That's if you know, if it gets renewed for a 4th season. And I would say that if Hulu don't renew, say, the Orville for a 4th season, I think it would be such a crime, because it's been such a good show, and I would say it's one of them shows where there's been such a huge improvement in, you can definitely tell that with the, as well, with the special effects, the stories, the scope of the stories, and the character development, that they've definitely upped their game. And I would say that for those of you who sit there and think, well, maybe it's just a rip-off of Star Trek or a parody of it, I'll say from about, probably going on season 2, but especially for season 3, you can definitely tell that, to me, that it's finally, it's found its own identity, I would say. So I think, so I would definitely think that it would be unfair to call the Orville now a rip-off of Star Trek, or saying it's better than it. To me, it's a very, very difficult thing when you've got a established franchise. It's kind of currently what we've got now, where you've got Marvel, where Marvel are more dominant with the superheroes, and then you've got DC, whether or not you agree with their plan. Well, that's a video for another story, a video for another day. Whether or not they should, whether or not you can have two different kind of franchises like DC and Marvel coexisting, and some people wanting it and some people not wanting it. And obviously that's what you get with fanboys. Or say like you got Star Wars, and then somebody does a Star Wars-esque franchise that they've created, and you can obviously clearly tell that it's been influenced by Star Trek or Star Wars or any other particular superhero medium. And to sit there and to be able to create a totally new franchise, and then the franchise is actually, in this case, the Orville, and say that it's been, like it's successful, is a very, very difficult thing to do. And I see a lot of people on social media, because obviously now, before we had the internet and even social media, people didn't have a voice unless you written to certain magazines. But let me sit down for a bit. But now everyone's got access to the internet and social media 24/7. So if somebody sits there and then has their opinion on what they think of a TV series or a movie, you get that instant reaction. It's like, oh, I don't think that's very good, or I think that's crap, and that's not very good, blah 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 blah. And to write, it's not easy to write a show, and especially if like you're expecting so much out of it. And then, as I said before, the quality and how each of the episodes of season 3 were constructed and then actually writ. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to be able to do as a writer, to come up with something different. And obviously making the seasons shorter obviously helps, because you don't have to do, say, example, like the shows used to be like 20 maybe like 22 or 23 episodes long, which used to do shows before. And then so you're gonna get some duds or episodes where they try to save on the budget of the actual episode, because obviously certain shows got a budget. Now it's all different now, because certain networks have got more money. So obviously like if you watch like Game of Thrones, obviously, or Westworld, you can pretty much tell that they've got such a huge budget in terms of what they actually having to write. And if you're sitting there and you're on your 8th or 9th season, that's kind of a very difficult thing to be able, to do. So, that's testament to all the staff and all the producers and the writers and the actors and actresses behind the show. And then, as I said before, you're seeing, as I said before, character development with the characters. Like, they still got the traditional traits which make each of the characters who they are, but you're seeing kind of like growth within the characters. And obviously, especially the first episode coming off the back of the season 2 kind of finale, in the way I want to get the way, but in the sense of the way that the characters react after the season finale to Isaac, because what happened in the season 2 finale, and then by the time, and then there's one particular new character, Charlie, who's a new character in season 3, and then she has her personal issues with Isaac, and you kind of find out why. And then by the time you get to the last couple of episodes, and obviously there's a sense of redemption, and in the way that certain characters kind of, her and Pete characters, and that's what you call development and kind of growth. So, you know what I mean, again, it's, you know what I mean, again, it's a very, very good character development, and you know, it's nice to sit there and see that in each of the episodes. Now, obviously, as I said before, there's 10 episodes in season 3. Now, what I will say, which is really weird, but it actually works. Now we're coming on to particular episodes. Episode 9 is where you get the big space battle, and that kind of reminded me, of a mixture of kind of like Star Trek First Contact, Star Trek First Contact, the Dominion War in Deep Space Nine, and the Battle of Wolf 359 with the Borg in the Best of Both Worlds. Now, not in the sense of the creatures, but in terms of like the battle, and even the episode 1 of Deep Space Nine, episode 1 from season 4 of Deep Space Nine, which titled, it was a double episode, The Way of the Warrior, in terms of the scale of the battle. But obviously this to me seemed like it was a bigger scale, because obviously now you've got the money to do the effects that you kind of want to kind of have to do. And watching episode 9, you literally would feel that episode 9 was actually the season finale, the way they kind of ended that. So you think to yourself, right, there's only one more episode in that. How are they going to sit there and top that with what they did in episode 9? And what I will say is that get ready to have your tissues at the ready at the end of it. Well, I won't say why, but you know, again, you would expect that if that had been like a typical ending of a season finale, it was a season finale-esque epic kind of an episode. So then when you kind of get to see season 10, this was more of the I don't know, it was more of a kind of a down-to-earth season kind of finale, where everyone's got, obviously, where it's all, I can't think of the word of being nice, but it's more of a kind of it's more of an epilogue. That's the way to kind of like describe it. But what I really liked about the episode is that after the events of episode 9, the use of humor that they used throughout this episode and the season finale, it was so kind of refreshing, the way that, you know, it was more light-hearted, and you know, it kind of gave you this nice kind of a warm kind of a feeling, not like example, you would have a season finale where there's an epic conclusion, and you have to come back to season 4 to, like, you know, like the Best of Both Worlds, where you watch the first episode of it and then you have to wait until the next season to see the events of what was going to happen. So it kind of left you on a cliffhanger, but this doesn't. And it's, all I'll say is, it's the funniest thing that you've kind of ever seen. And to me, the way they've ended it on kind of a gentle note, I thought was absolutely fantastic. The way they kind of ended it, and then the whole episode, all I will say is, there's a joke with a sandwich, which pays off from another episode. I will say, all I will say is that I will never look at Elvis in the same light. And then there's something that there's two moments to do with Ed to do with Ed Mercer regarding a dress. There's a joke in that, and also something that he says to Gordon Malloy and Bortus, and then his husband in it. It's the stuff what happens in that entire episode. It is the funniest thing that you ever seen, but I don't really want to spoil it. But yeah, it was great. Now, one quick thing before I go, what I found out about it. Obviously, we know that the production was going on for an hour and a half, a year and a half, and what happened is that one of the actresses in it got pregnant. So they had to film, like, say, like different bits from different episodes to work around it until they got her back. So they might film scenes from episode 2, and then film scenes from episode 6, and then they get back in it. And then they had to make sure that they were in the right position, the haircut was right way, and they were in the same motion. And so they had to make sure that they were all in the right position, so that when they did the pickup shots to match it back up, everything had to match. And I think that's a testament in the actual crew and the writing and the producers, and having to like do something like that, and have to work around it and have to do things like that. And then when you watch it, you don't even notice it until the fact that someone's kind of like mentioned it, that's what they've done. But yeah, I would sit there and say, obviously, if they're going to be putting it on Disney Plus over here, all the seasons over here, it's in the UK. I would say definitely binge if you've never watched the Orville before. I would definitely say binge watch it. You could binge watch all seasons 1 to 3, and you'll definitely see the difference in terms of what they've actually done. And I would say that you will definitely see the difference in terms of what they have done with season 3. But yeah, as I said before, I couldn't highly recommend season 3 enough, and how fantastic it is. And I already missed the show already, and how good it is, and it's finally found its own feet. And if Hulu had any bloody sense, they would renew the show for a fourth season. But as I said before, it's probably going to be a while before we see it, if they do film it. So again, yeah, I hope people liked this review, non-spoiler review of season 3 of the Orville. So yeah, again, I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.